Welcome to the Industry 4.0 podcast with Grantek.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's special bonus episode of the Industry 4.0 podcast with Grantek. The Industry 4.0 podcast with Grantek delivers a look into the world of manufacturing with a focus on stories and trends that lead to better solutions. Our guests commonly share tips and outcomes that will help improve your productivity. I'm your host, Kamat Susi. I'm a technical consultant with the Grantek as part of our technical consultancy and digital solutions group. Today, I'm fortunately joined by Tooke of Grantek. Ian is the VP of Digital Transformation and AI at Grantek. He has a dual mandate here, overseeing both consulting and digital solutions while directing enterprise IT, AI strategy, and marketing for a 230-person systems integrator serving regulated manufacturers. He has over 30 years in manufacturing technology, holds multiple patents, and has served as a MESA International board member. His background spans strategy, marketing, partner management, and business development. Ian, thanks for joining me on the Industry 4.0 podcast. I'll hand it over to you to kind of introduce yourself.
Thanks, Matt. That was a big intro. So, 30 years, you can tell by my beard. Yeah. So, maybe it's a good idea for me to give you some background on how I got into manufacturing in the first place. So I started in the UK in the late 80s at a company called Thames Water, which is really a utilities company, biggest utilities company in the UK. And I built SCADA systems and telemetry systems. So participated in the London Water Ring Main project, which was a huge tunnel around London. That's a big reservoir, just like the Channel Tunnel, with SCADA and telemetry systems and fiber optics. And in those days, lots of PLC5s and pyramid integrators. And started to do, kind of real industrial control stuff around water treatment, distribution, networks, telemetry, running on VAX and VMS systems in the day. And I think that was the foundation in my systems thinking. I moved to a company called ICOM for a very short amount of time, which was the pre-runner to Rockwell Software. And so ICOM, I joined very, very shortly at the beginning. And they were acquired by Rockwell to become Rockwell Software. And was anyone in the UK at the time supporting all the Rockwell products, including the old Rockwell or Allen Bradley 6200 and APS programming software. But then I supported all the AI stuff and WinLogic and WinView and WinView for scripting, which were pretty cool, cutting edge products for their time. This was before, we had Windows as we know it today. And it was the beginning of Windows 3.1 for workgroups where you had to build everything on top of DOS. So that's many, many years ago. And then got into a lot of development and extending Rockwell's products for our customers in the UK and Europe and South Africa. And I accepted a role to move over to work for the HMI group, which was basically building RSView. And at the time it was Control View for Windows. And then it went to RSView and then to RSView 32. And worked at Rockwell for 15 years, everything from product development to customer consulting, and left there 16 years ago. We've been Grantek for 16 years. And at that time when I left, I was the lead architect in porting over OSI Pi's historian to the Control Logics historian running on the backplane, and FP historian, as well as the MES applications. So their OEE application and all those good legacy MES systems. And I think that's really where I got deep into manufacturing and execution systems, KPIs and analytics, and operational data. Worked in multiple industries, so everything from food and bev, pharma to automotive. As well as keeping in utilities, and I moved eventually to the US market. Lived in the US for a while, and then moved with Rockwell up to Canada. Worked out of Canada, and left there, as I said, 16 years ago. So I joined Grantek in 2007. So been here for a while. I started off actually leading the consulting practice at Grantek around manufacturing IT, as we used to call it, or OT, and moved through several roles in Grantek, including the chief strategy officer. I'm now the VP of digital transformation and AI. So, as you said, I've got a multiple mandates. I'm looking internally and enabling Grantek to embrace AI and the journey around AI, and also trying to take that vision and cross-pollinate that to external offerings for our customers. And Matt, you're part of that team. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. I think it's actually unusual to have that kind of dual mandate, inward facing, external facing. But I think in this new age of AI, it's needed, and it's bringing value to kind of the vision of Grantek around digital transformation and AI.
I think it's quite interesting because it kind of tailors well with your whole career and progression and history. You've evolved with the industry as it's gone, right? You've talked with, what it was, legacy equipment now, right? Software that was done on DOS, that was even before the Windows that we know it today and everything else. And in this world of AI, it's funny, in the industrial aspect, you almost never thought of Linux or Apple being, present. And now in this age, we have we have AI running on these systems. We have AI involved in these. Manufacturing is really adapting to this. It's quite the evolution. I guess, kind of where I'm kind of thinking with that is, and we start every podcast with this question, but what does Industry 4.0 mean for you in this role and this focus of AI and where the industry is moving?
Yeah, and to be honest, I think I probably would have given you a different answer a year ago.
Interesting.
I think Industry 4.0, I think it's a good rallying call. To me, it's not specifically a technology, it's a label. I think it's a different kind of approach and thought process. It's more of a philosophy, I think. And it's about making what you have already smarter, right? Enabling the decision-making, critical thinking, increasing efficiency and productivity in the manufacturing environment. I think, our industry is not immune to loving a great rallying, cry, like every other industry. We tend to have lots of three little acronyms and nomenclature that maybe is more marketing than there is anything else. But to me, it's about really, it's around enabling your manufacturing enterprise, making great decisions, increasing productivity, increasing quality, and having systems do more for you and getting more for your return on investment in the systems that you invest in. I hear a lot of manufacturers say, "Hey, we're embracing Industry 4.0," and a lot of the time they talk about having to rip and replace everything, install new sensors, hire a data science team, and the real opportunities are in the systems already in your plant floor. You've got tons and gads of data that you've collected. It's not always networked. It's not always really easily accessible. And really, to me, Industry 4.0 is about connecting those systems, contextualizing the data, and making it actionable to all levels within that organization.
You bring up a really good point that I want to highlight here is people talk a lot about, I got to rip and replace. I got to put this new sensor in. I have this gap here. And they take for granted what they're already sitting on, what the actual valuable oil being data that they're already on top of, right? I think people get lost in the mud of thinking, oh, I don't have the latest sensor or this and that, but they have systems that are there that are siloed with information. And it's just a matter of making sure those get connected, get those integrated, and start pulling that knowledge out of it, right?
Yeah.
And they're closer than they really think. Part of Industry 4.0 to me is kind of interesting because, as you described, we can start already leveraging what we've been doing for years, right? Like you talked about earlier in your intro about the migration of historians, right? The data collection that you're doing, the telemetry that you're putting in. We've been doing it for a number of years. So this is just the new way we can really leverage that and really excel upon it, right? This is our launch point in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, there's a lot of new Lego bricks out there in the marketplace that allow you to do this much more easily than we have in the past. And I think we're in this area of convergence where all this digital enablement is allowing us to do things quicker, executing projects quicker. But again, fundamentally, it still comes down to, hey, if you've got a bunch of data that's kind of orphaned and in silos and is not, you can't connect to it, the data's not that great, we need some sort of data cleansing. At the end of the day, when you're going on this Industry 4.0 journey, there's still a lot of manufacturers that haven't kind of thought about the bases, right? They're thinking of the result and the end result and what they want to do, and they want to be AI enabled, and they want this and they want that, but they haven't gone through the basics of laying down that infrastructure.
You can't just, build the car with nothing, right? You box the scraps and you actually give yourself a good foundation, right? Like a better analogy would be you're building a house, right? You need to have a good, proper foundation to build on. You don't want to be building on sand and sinking into the ocean, right?
Yeah. And it goes for also, going back to that thought process around having a dual mandate. It's pretty much every company is facing this. It's not just manufacturers, right? Grantek as an entity outside of being a system integrator and delivering those solutions has the same problems, right? We've got lots of internal systems. We've been around for a long time in the marketplace, and we've gathered a lot of, customer data and project data, as well as the data that we need to run our day-to-day systems. And we're on that journey as well, right? We won't call it Industry 4.0, but it's really about how do I get my data? How do I make it actionable? Does it have high quality? How does it make my business more productive? How does it enable every Grantekian to leverage that data to do things quicker, faster, more reliable, higher quality for customers, while making us a viable and productive business?
And do you feel that AI is accelerating this piece? Do you feel that's really shaping or changing the future of manufacturing? You kind of mentioned at the top of the call where what you thought 2 years ago is going to be a lot different than what you think, today talking with me.
Yeah, to be honest, Matt, I think I've been around for a while. Like I said, the great bid says it all. I've lived through hype cycles. We've always got a hype cycle going on. It always was, right? Those things never really, in my mind, materialized. But to be honest, on my own personal journey with I, like everyone else, played around with ChatGPT when it came out and wasn't that impressed. It was kind of a cool, clever little chatbot, one step removed from kind of, your Outlook finishing your sentence for you, or Word. I think for me, it's not anymore about adapting new technology. Well, we're in the rate of change that we're seeing in the industry right now is crazy. And that is, empowered by the AI jet. I've never seen a technology actually impact our marketplace as much, right? Typically, the OT side of the house is always lagged behind IT and IT systems and complexity, and IT's typically been further ahead than a lot of the time manufacturing IT has been around new technologies and stuff, typically because of the way that we invest in manufacturing and our end customers invest into manufacturing, But now I think AI is really pushing everyone to rethink how they approach building these systems. I've been in manufacturing tech for, like I said, over 30 years. And I would say the pace of change, or the rate of change in the last 18 months has exceeded anything I've seen in the previous 28 years. I don't think we're in this hype cycle anymore. We're in a reality cycle. It's crazy. As I said in my preamble, I used to do development. So I've had lots of different things in my career. I've worked in sales, I've worked in product development, consulting. And now I have, essentially right now as we're talking, I have a group of AI agents running on developing code for internal use within Grantek as we speak. And I think, especially for people, we're really seeing this kind of age of enablement of visionaries. So if you were a visionary and a strategist, then you need, the ability to take a vision and then transform that into something that was meaningful and executable. That cycle time is like drawn right down. Where I'm building apps myself and working with other developers to pass that off. It's the big difference to me giving them a vision or a PowerPoint deck and then them going away and planning it and then building it. It's like, hey, here's your version 1. I've already built the version 1, right? Now, I'm not going to say it. I'm an expert developer by any means, but it allows me to translate my vision so much faster into reality, and then pass that over to much more capable developers to take that on and run with it. And I think a lot of it really now is cognitive load. It's being able to have the cognitive load because I'm finding that AI allows me to do so many different things. I have a hard time constraining myself and not having all of these parallel things happening at once, right? And then it's the cognitive load to actually administer those agents and be reacted to them. So I think that's a huge paradigm shift.
I agree with you completely, right? Because the so to speak glass ceiling we maybe felt above us is no longer there. It's removed. These guardrails, in a way, have been widened. We can do so much more. We can do so much more so quickly now. Things that were taking months are moving down to weeks. Weeks are now days. Days are now hours. This is a large paradigm shift, like you've said, because we can do so much more in the daily time that we have and the yearly time that we have, right?
Yep.
Projects, turnarounds, even just from the visionary aspect, prototyping, how quickly you can turn something around and get something semi-functional, right? And then build upon those features. And it really is empowering in a lot of ways and empowering for everybody, not just developers. Like you said, visionaries yourselves. Like we're giving a lot of tools and a lot of capability, and it's been quite the shift in 18 months' time. Let's be honest. Right?
Yeah.
Prototyping's ever gone quicker now.
Yeah. And I think it also changes. It has to impact your business, and you have to apply that thought process across the business. And I think it, you know, not only is it, hey, it's increasing my productivity,
Yeah.
but it can't turn out to a bunch of busy work that takes you longer to get to these things, right? Like, how do you put these things on rails? How do you make them deterministic around things that need to be deterministic? I think the biggest challenge for a lot of manufacturers that they need to understand is the rate of change in the AI tooling that is available, right? If you look at Anthropic and you look at, not just like the SWE workbench test of how great Claude is as a developer, but the ecosystem that they're building around that, where your context is coming from, how it participates in that, increasing token windows, right? It's a constant moving target every day. Like every day I come into work, I have an agent that does a digest for me of all the changes that have happened. And we're talking about 2 to 3 builds a day sometimes from Anthropic, right? Like if you're in your Claude chat interface, it's like update this, your update twice a day.
Yeah.
Right. Because Claude code is building Claude. Right. So, and, I'm not saying that I agree with all the ways that they're kind of enacting that and employing it. I still think that there's some things missing, feedback from the marketplace sometimes. But it's head spinning. And I think really, as a manufacturer, you got to kind of think about this and say, okay, these things where we used to think about, okay, I'm going to make this architecture, I've got this vision, it's going to last 7 years, before I have to think about maybe refilling this line or changing the way that software works on this line. You now need to adapt to that, saying, okay, my vision to execution window needs to shorten, and how do I plan for systems that I thought were going to be architectural cornerstones of my vision for the next 7 years, in the age of AI, that SaaS provider that you pick today may no longer be relevant in 2 years, right? So how do you plan for that?
It's a mind-bending thought, right? Like you said, these can be long-running, several-year projects where I instantiate this. It's robust, it's working for me well, it fits my business criteria, but now in the age of AI, that could change within 6 months, being hyper optimistic, right? But the real timeline is probably 2 to 3 years, right? So the second you get it in, you're already starting to plan, what's the next one? What am I doing for? Where's my business going, right?
Yep.
That turnaround time, that's the double-edged sword of this. We can move quicker, but we're always moving quicker to the next, development, right?
Yep.
And that's
I mean,
change in manufacturing.
yeah, for sure. And I think the other thing that's changed my mindset, especially to when I'm looking internally on my mandate around AI enabling Grantek, it's like, how do I build this system and have no vendor lock-in and architectural level, right? Where my architecture isn't dependent on a specific vendor being around or providing a specific service. And I'm kind of looking at like a ports and adapters model where it's like, hey, if you build this system in a certain way and the adapter being an application, whether that's like SharePoint today, Confluence tomorrow, whatever those things are, they're really transient. I'm at that point where adapters and tools are disposable,
Right.
right? The build versus buy paradigm is shift. Whereas a year ago it's like always buy, buy as a shelf, right? Now we're at this point where it's like, okay, I can get a much more tailored system by building, and my cost to build and maintain that system has gone down from I don't need a fleet of software developers and product owners and product management to do all of the things that I need to do around these tooling. I can have a lower footprint of and bandwidth of individuals and build some of these features fairly easily. So to me, we're at this point where tools are just disposable, and you've got to kind of plan for that.
Which is like a fascinating thing because, as you were saying, everything has been, a buy and then customized upon that. And now the conversation is really swinging back to you can custom build something. You can build it specifically for your needs. And because of this move, you can do it very quickly. Is that kind of changing with the needs of the industry where we need more, say, developers to kind of guide that? We need a little bit more of a tailored, consultancy or subject matter experts to help kind of guide these types of things, these initiatives, as we'll call it.
Yeah, I think when people say, "Oh, developers are going to be out of work" and stuff like that, I don't think so. I think it's about a developer becoming more of a visionary and an architect and becoming a specialist in a specific area, and guiding and working with AI to implement their subject matter expertise. Um, and I don't think it's consultancy as we used to think of consultancy, right? I don't think this is hey, hire your consultant, they deliver you a 20-page PowerPoint, and then it takes 3 years to implement that PowerPoint. Um, sh- I think it's shortened that window. I think your consultants are subject matter experts, and that could be subject matter experts in manufacturing processes. Um, you know, it could be, hey, traditionally you were an MES developer, but hey, you specialize in food and beverage and dairy in this area, and you're working with an AI that harnesses and leverages your subject matter expertise to execute and output much faster, to vision and deploy much quicker. And that's where I think this is going to go to, right? Like I think that's where we're aligning ourselves is, hey, we're experts at these systems. We understand, your MES workflows. We understand how your processes work. Our time to value to provide you a solution is now going down, right? Because we can bring our subject matter expertise to bear in a much quicker time frame that it used to be, which was, hey, we're going to vision with you. It's going to take X amount of workshopping. Then we're going to get to this thing where we're going to basically give these, a functional specification. You're going to review. We're going to iterate. And then at that very waterfall thought process, right? At some thought, we're going to lock in the requirements, and then we're going to develop and deploy. And then we may iterate. I think that cycle is just shortened.
It's that answering that question, what's every project we get the question, what's the return on investment? How long before return on investment? When are we gonna start seeing this? And now we're seeing it very quickly. We're seeing we can have, in crazy amount of time, a solution up and running on your plant floor in say a week. And here's your proof of concept, and here's how it's going to operate. What's working, what's not. Let's expand upon that. Let's build that out for you, right? What's the plug and play? Like you said, it's interesting now where we are seeing this plug and play opportunity, right? Pick your system, pick your data standard outlined and designed, right? Here's how it's going to tie into each other. You pull that one out, well, it's already standardized. So you plug another one in. These are where the pipes are going to go in. This is how your data is going to go up, how the system is going to interoperate, right? That wasn't even really a thing even 4 years ago, 5 years ago, right? We're just starting the conversations around that. Now it dominates all of our conversations. How are we going to do plug and play? What's your standardization here? What kind of data are you expecting, right? And having that expected for every piece of equipment that comes in your operation. Quite the shift in a short amount of time.
Yep. No, and I think it changes the landscape for manufacturers. I think in the old days, I mean, I've seen, been around for 30 years, especially in MES, right? I've seen lots of companies build and provide these massive monolithic MES platforms, and they spend it's like in some cases, equivalent to an ERP, what it used to be when you do an SAP rollout, right? This huge system, lots of money, really expensive to implement. You need a bunch of experts and technical experts to go build this for you. And people would say, I want an off-the-shelf MES. So there was never an off-the-shelf MES. I mean, let's just face it, right? I mean, there's a few platforms out there that were built specifically for industries and they worked well within that, but there was really never an off-the-shelf experience, right? And I think AI enablement has allowed us to get closer to actually an off-the-shelf experience for a customer. And it's really about working with a company who has the right SMEs, who understands your business and what you're trying to achieve, coming to the table with all that knowledge and probably frameworks that they've already developed and implemented, and tailoring that specifically to provide you an off-the-shelf experience. I think we're much closer to that kind of thought process of having an off-the-shelf experience for a customer than we ever have been before.
Which is amazing in a sense, right? Because now we are getting back to, like we said, custom tailored solutions. Here's exactly what works for you, right? That there's never truly been an off-the-shelf MES that isn't some customization, some adjustment to best suit a manufacturer, right? But now you can almost ground up, set that foundation and build it for the customer. With something like this, do you think this is kind of the first positive case study that we're seeing out of AI, the real tangible one? Or do you think there's other case studies out there that even show this use of AI in a better light?
I think I would have to think about that one a little bit. I think for me, when you start to, if you look at kind of case studies of AI, I mean, AI is a big umbrella of stuff, right? So people say, hey, I'm going to AI. Well, what is that really? Are you talking about kind of chatbots? Are you talking about agents? Agentic operations running on Rails. But where I was kind of talking about is the time to value for a solution, right? I think there's other great use cases for AI. Some of our partners like TwinThread, where you've got this essentially digital twins, and you're iterating on the experience of the digital twin and then improving your process. There's lots of great use cases of AI. AI agents, for example. I hear all the time, lots of customers that, hey, we want to deploy an AI agent on the plant floor for predictive maintenance, quality, scheduling, those kind of things, right? And I think some of those use cases are real and ready, but a lot of manufacturers are jumping to that. And I'm seeing a lot of failures in those pilots because they haven't invested in their data architecture, their process, and understanding their process first, right? There, to me, are the things that if you haven't gone on this journey, before you jump in and say, hey, I want a chatbot for my plant floor, and you haven't done those things before, you probably are going to fail, right? So I'm looking at it as broader AI enablement across an enterprise, If you've gone through and you've invested in your data architecture and your data ops and you got all your data available, and you're thinking about how agents are going to use that generally, and you have a really good understanding of your processes and your manufacturing processes that are going to enable agents to glom onto those things and be more productive and more deterministic in the things that they do. If you haven't done that, stop thinking about the LLM chatbot that you're going to say what was my breakdown on the line last night. You've got to do some foundational things first.
I think the core of that message is that you should just be going out and buying an AI platform, right? That's just jumping in when you don't have the foundation, you haven't gone down the journey, as you said, right?
Yep.
It should be understanding your process, using your subject matter experts that are in your team, seeing what data is there, verifying that the data is good, and then starting to build that roadmap. Is that kind of fair to say? Is that the starting point for manufacturers?
I think that's where you need to start. I think that's not just for manufacturers. I think anyone that's enabling their enterprise by AI, they are the foundational things that you need to put in place. And as I said, that's applicable to manufacturers and to any other company that is pursuing AI enablement.
And I think you bring up a good point because again, this is making sure that you can walk before you run, right? You want agentic AI. You want an AI to tell you what should be adjusted on your plant for in your operations, right? But if you don't have the data, you haven't done that process, you're never going to get to that point, frankly, right? You have to understand it, train it, make sure it's working appropriately, and also don't try to make this agent do everything under the sun. Pick a use case, pick a tangible thing, right?
Yeah, and a lot of the time I've seen where people are talking about, AI is not, you don't go and subscribe to, Anthropic or something, and it's this panacea where it's going to do everything for you. It's going to give you answers. It doesn't necessarily the answers are correct or right? Like you've got to have repeatable data ingestion. You've got to have things that are put on rails where they need to be deterministic. A lot of the time where people talk about use cases with AI, I look at them and it's like, well, what you're really talking about is process automation, right? And process automation's been around for a while. A lot of people just haven't embraced it, right? But a lot of the use cases I see are people could be investing into process automation platforms and automating their processes and making their processes more efficient. AI to me is something that sits on top of those things. We all know that AI is not deterministic, right? So when you're looking at your use case and you're like, I want this to be deterministic, a lot of the time people I think are probably going down the wrong path of how they want to apply AI.
I feel like people are seeing it, well, I guess bluntly, they're seeing it like the silver bullet. It's going to do everything. It's going to solve all my problems, right? And it's going to solve problems, yes, but it is very much in how you use it, how you apply it, how you're working with it. It's still a tool, and there's an operator to every tool, right?
Well, and it's not just that the AI is non-deterministic, but if you just give everyone a chat interface, right?
Right.
We're all going to converse in a different way. We all have different language, right? So having an AI being able to give a repeatable and reliable result to everyone ubiquitously is a challenge. You just got a chat interface, right? I mean, your prompt could be well engineered. You could be a really great prompt engineer and know all the best practices for prompting and get a great result. Or you could be someone else that's lower down in the adoption cycle and knowledge cycle of how to use a chat interface and be getting results that aren't that great. That's if you don't have those foundational layers put in place, providing the right data to you at the right time, in the right context, it becomes a challenge to get a repeatable experience for an end user. I mean, where I've seen the manufacturers who are thriving and adopting the fastest are the ones that are building the right foundations, right? So they've got clean data integration, solid ontologies, governance frameworks, maybe map to some standards, and then really once they've got those things in place, I think the success of the AI use cases they're using on top becomes a lot more prevalent, right? Like I think people that haven't done that and then jump straight into that, hey, I want a chatbot that does this, are in for a lot more of a painful journey.
I agree with you completely, because then when you haven't done that road mapping, so to speak, right, your AI becomes this non-deterministic plethora that tries to do everything but doesn't really do anything you need it to. Doesn't actually get it to any result or deterministic piece. Nothing actionable from it. It's almost becomes busy work, point frankly. That's the
Yep.
unfortunate side, but again, it is garbage in, garbage out. So if you take the time, you build the foundation, you build the inputs that you want from it, and you have clear outputs of when you want to go, right? You put those guardrails in that, you know, this is kind of funny way to say it, but that unified experience for everyone that's using the AI bots, right? Or the agent, you're going to get a better result overall. It really is in how you game plan and how you prepare yourself. And again, that doesn't mean you're moving slowly in game planning. You're just moving strategically so that you get that fast output that is usable and you can build upon that.
Yep.
It's in like it's interesting when we talk about this stuff because we talk about the hypotheticals, where things are building, what we're building to, how quickly we're moving. And a lot of people get a little bit scared of that. A lot of people get also very hyped about it. They're excited about it. What can we do? The visionary aspect of it. And we've kind of balanced that beam today of going back and forth on that. Where do you fit on that hype versus fear? This is a common question we've gotten a couple times from earlier guests.
I have always embraced change. So I like change. I'm very much on the, I'm gonna say it's hype, because I think it's reality. I'm very much the get on board, right? Get on board with this. Genie's out of the bottle.
Yep.
Uh,
But away. It's
you
here.
know, going away. We can't stuff it back in the bottle. And I think, yes, do I think we need more regulatory pressure in this marketplace? Probably. Um, though I would question who the regulatory body would be. But I'm very much about embrace this journey. To me, this is uh, it's a new tool. It's a new tool that can make everyone else can make everyone productive in any aspect. If you're spending any time behind a keyboard as part of your day-to-day routines, and you're either in a strategic position where you're like looking at vision, trying to do that. I mean, we already talked about how I use it and how it allows me to kind of hit the rubber hit the road a lot quicker.
Yep.
But there's still so much in businesses today where it's like if you look at how you process even in like back end accounting systems, right? Triple inputting of data or transposing from one Excel spreadsheet to another, making decisions around specific areas of data. Once you understand and embrace the tooling and how you can leverage it, like I'd say like port in Excel or something like that, the add in Excel or PowerPoint or our Word as they released the other day, and you understand how that works, man, does it make you so much more productive? And for someone like me who is, I'm really a visionary. I'm not really a great, I'm going to say, a great integrator. Like I have lots of great ideas, but making all those ideas come to and execute those in a way that can be shared and other people participate, uh, it's just a game changer for me. And I think it's a game changer. It should be a game changer for everyone. I'm not saying AI is going to, bring world peace and, solve the world's hunger problem, but it surely is a massive productivity gain for me. And I think for others that are using it, and the people that are open and embrace this are, if you're kind of looking at that curve, the early adopters are going like this, right? And now what I know now, you know, is so much different to what I knew a year ago around using some of this AI tooling and how best to build it. And part of that is based on how fast the actual change is happening, but it's also through experience. And I think people that are holding off right now need to get on board and they need to start using it and seeing where the value is. and then adding, I think, the people of the future are going to be the people that work with AI, right? And now know how to use AI. That's the employee of the future. I think resistance is futile,
I think I agree with
as the
you.
Borg used to say.
That's a good reference. I was like, I think I know where this is going. I think I agree with you completely, right? This is a new tool set, a new capability that people need to learn, need to build. It is a new skill, right? How to prompt, how to work with the AI, how to have it work with your data. You highlighted the efficiencies, right? Having plugins to your Excel sheets, to your Word sheets, how it can generate your reports, how you and I talk about this a lot. We talk about the unified namespace in manufacturing, but you have a unified namespace across your entire organization now.
Yep.
Having the AI pull from the same data repository, so everyone's information, everyone's numbers, like in counting, is all from the same spot, right? There's no more multiple versions of documents or different sources of truth. Single source of truth, single source of actions, right? And you move so much quicker with that. You're not double checking things 7 times over. You're not rerunning the calculations. It's there, it's pulling the same things, and you're having something like an agent go and run those things for you. So you're not having a task that's set in your to-do list. I got to go and recheck this. I got to go and revisit this. I got to ask XYZ person in the infrastructure. We're spending more time discussing how we want to make our decisions than having to crunch every single number and repeat our work, right?
And, and
There's
I think, going back to what you asked me earlier about, what's a good case study for it, or what's, a good use case for it. I'll give you one that's like not, it's really focused on our own, rolling within Grantek, and not even in the manufacturing space, right? Well, Grantek runs on EOS, which is the entrepreneurial operating system, which is a way that we manage our company, how we all have a common vision and goal, through what we call the BTO, Vision Traction Organizer, tells what our roadmap is for the next 10 years, for the next 5, for the next 3. One of the things that we're doing right now is, it's a well-defined process. Everyone on Grantek is following this process somewhat, but in order to follow the process, there are artifacts, right? To prep for, there's a thing called an L10 meeting, right? Which is essentially a stand-up meeting for each P&L and each team within Grantek each week, really to address the issues happening within the business, how to be reactive to customers, how to be reactive to the business. And to prep for those meetings and actually understand all the issues, it's quite arduous, right? If you're the L10 leader, you've got to understand what the issues are across your group or the department that you're running. You've got to keep that in sync from week to week. They're almost like small tasks and projects, right? What can you get done within a week? And then they're related to quarterly goals and then to annual goals. And to keep all this aligned and able for you to actually go and see where you are on this journey. We're going from a system where we use Microsoft OneNote, and everyone would type in each week, and we would have a Teams meeting, and now we're moving to a system where it's like we're going to automate that, right? Partly through process automation, but partly through AI, right? So you'll be able to prep with AI. You'll be able to, the transcripts get pulled over directly into your Confluence meeting notes from it, and it will follow up on your goals, and it will follow up on the issues that you have. The productivity that we gain by not having people to literally manually have to sit down and think about that, and paying, highly qualified people to essentially do just administrative tasks of pulling the stuff together is huge, right? And that's just one small low-hanging fruit use case of using process automation and AI for everyone ubiquitously across Grantek to suddenly gain a couple of hours out of the week.
That's quite wild when you think about it, because it's like, instead of having our L10 leaders sitting over the war board every day, going through, getting the latest details, reaching out for updates, now it's happening automatically. So they actually can spend more time looking at it and asking more questions around it. Where did this happen from? What's our timeline on this project? Hours are spent here. And they can bring that pre-preparation, right? They actually have more time to prep and plan and adjust, rather than spending the time doing the work of gathering the information, validating it, seeing what's going on here. They can ask questions, adjust, and then bring it forward.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, it's like, what is my workflow? Well, I would have to go to Power BI and I would have to run a P&L report. I would have to go to our internal system of the way that we run our jobs and go, okay, which customers are in what phase. Now we've got MCP servers over that that's exposing that data in a secure way. We're going to have process automation. You'll get to your meeting, and it's kind of interesting because we've run a couple of these things and we've used AI to organize the meeting, and it's like you're starting to realize that 40 to 60% of the meeting was you organizing the meeting and doing all the prep work, right? So it's like suddenly down to, okay, we're going straight into talking about issues. And we're talking about issues and we're exchanging ideas. We're not worrying about keeping up with the notes because transcript is being cool, right? Then that's being pre-processed and extrapolated into action items, right? That then is going back into the Confluence template. And the next extension of this is like, okay, well, if I then had said, hey, Matt, you've got this task to do this week, right? And it shows up in your AI, right? And when you do your morning digest, it's like, okay, you've got 3 issues from the L10 last week. Would you like me to help you pre-plan this throughout the week so you can hit your deliverables? That's kind of where we're going to, right? That automation piece and having AI help you organize, triage, keep you on track. It's pretty powerful.
Massively so. At the core of it, we're getting more time back to do the work, which sounds silly, right? Because the work has always been there, but now we're actually getting time to focus on the key work, the administrative piece, the note-taking, those things, summaries, the action items, like you said, assignments, follow-ups. That's getting automated so we can actually focus on the true, tangible work. And that's exciting because there's even more that we can kind of build from and work upon and better spend of our time ultimately, right?
Yeah. And if you think about it, right, if you have an agent that runs and it like triages your inbox, it knows who you are, it knows, your R&R, your role, your accountabilities. There's an Excel spreadsheet attached to the email. It can open it up and it's like, okay, I know that you run this group and you're this individual. I'm going to pull out the financial data out of this spreadsheet that's been sent to you for your review. I'm going to pre-process that. I'm going to go and check that across, to your CRM data and make sure that your forecast matches. We're at this thing where it's like we're at this junction where if you get the right ontology, you get the right processes in place, you understand what your processes are, and then you overlay agentic operations on top of that. I don't even know what productivity you gain from that. Like, I mean, to me, it's how much time do you spend, especially as you go, as you become more of a leader, analyzing reports, analyzing Excel spreadsheets, right? Looking at Power BI reports, looking at people's timesheets, looking at all these sources of data. And once you pipe that all in and you have something that can go pre-process that stuff for you, the productivity that you gain in a week is just tremendous.
Again, you're just like we've been doing the process automation, we've been streamlining processes, making them more efficient, and now we're making our everyday, day-to-day lives more efficient, where we're even highlighting things that were duplicative, right? Or double tasks that we didn't realize just because you're preparing them in different formats, right? Or double entries and other things. The world's our oyster in a lot of ways with this stuff. It's going cool. I do like to ask this question for all the guests, and I do want to ask it with you, especially with everything we talked about. What's the Industry 4.0 question you want answered? And what do you think our guests should answer that to? Or what's your view of it?
I know, maybe this is I'll start off at the beginning, right? I spoke about Industry 4.0. Do we even need the label Industry 4.0 anymore?
I mean, I'll let you finish, and then I think I have a point that you'll enjoy from that.
Yeah, I mean, we've been 10 years in the making of Industry 4.0, right? It's been a decade. And I think it's useful to say, oh, Industry 1 was this, Industry 2 was this, and we've got steam engines. To me, it's like the naming of an era, right? So, I kind of look at it, is it a term that, we throw around still? Is it still a relevant term? The technology landscape has shifted dramatically. And I wonder if it's a label that's just holding us back, right? Or is it still a rallying call? I guess that would be my question. Are we still talking about the fourth industrial revolution, or has that become kind of a moot point? Did we stop at the fourth industrial revolution, and now in the age of AI, we're just talking about an ever shortening time cycle, right? To a point where a label becomes irrelevant, right? Is it just now we're in the age of AI?
My feeling is it's time that we sunset the Industry 4.0 label, because I agree with you. I think we've seen this revolution. We're living it now. We're in it. This is where we're all building to, and now we're in the evolutions of AI and where these things are taking it, right? We've talked about, and the theme across the call has just been how quickly we move. So we're going to be in the Industry 5.0 revolution, next year? And then 6.0, 6 months from that. And then 7.0, 4 months from that. I think we're kind of beyond that now, right? We're just in this constant evolution stage where we can sunset this term and this is the new reality of things, right? Until, say, quantum computing, which, this is quite on our doorstep next, right?
Yeah. Well, let's hope we're all replaced with AI and robots within 2 years. I think really right now, it's for me, it's an enjoyable journey. I think, like with any technology, say it's a double-edged sword. Could be used for great good and could be used for not so great good. So, we're all on this journey together. I don't think you can opt out of this kind of this journey. I think there's a number of people that would love to be able to opt out of it. I mean, I'd love to go and have 100 acres somewhere, not have to worry about some of this stuff. But I think it's with us. I think you need to embrace the change. I think you need to get on board. You need to start learning. And I actually think that's one of the biggest use cases of AI is when you actually understand how to use it and leverage it. It becomes one of the best, for me anyway, technologies that allow me to quickly learn, make decisions, and move on. I've always been a quick mover, and AI for me as a kind of a quick mover has done a lot of the fact finding for me and allowed me to kind of, the rubber hit the road much faster than it would have done in the past for me.
That's exciting, right? We get to jump and move on things. We also get to learn, and I don't think we're thinking about that enough. We get to learn quite a bit. We get to dive into things that always interested us, but we didn't have the opportunity to have the resource to really dive in ourselves and build on it,
Yep.
right? Now we have a teaching assistant almost, right? We can prompt and ask questions and pull research from and learn ourselves, learn at our own pace. Pretty exciting.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. Oh no, it's super fun, and and I don't want to come across as someone has got AI psychosis, but I find probably my wife Carrie probably laments as well. I spend way too much time with Claude these days, and he's always with me on my phone. But to me, I mean, like I have a system built on Cowork, and I have this thing called a musing task, right? And I just go to my Apple Notes and I'm like, hey, make a note. I was thinking about this. Goes into my Apple Notes. And then when I get back, my musings task has gone and done a bunch of research for me, has already found like, hey, these are the industry standards of the thing that you asked for. This is how the use cases you could use this for. It's done all that because I thought about it when I was like, sitting outside or something, and I was thinking about something, came to how often does an idea just pop into your head? And it's like, well, I got to remember that, right? Just go to, hey, Siri, make an Apple note on it. And then Claude's picked it up on its next task and has already done a bunch of the research for you. I mean, how powerful is just that small system?
It's incredibly powerful. It's like the idea of keeping a pen and paper beside your bed because you have that thought, that dream you want to take down, and then go and action on it. Now you have a personal assistant that's helping you action on it.
Exactly.
Pretty cool. This is the future we talked about for many years, right?
Yeah.
Now it's actually here.
It's here. It's here. Scarily.
Scarily.
Yeah.
And it's been a great conversation where I think we've gone down a number of facets, which have been a lot of exciting. It's been a lot of fun to kind of discuss and brainstorm and really kind of getting into the tangibles of what we're working on here. I want to thank you for joining me on the Industry 4.0 podcast. I hope everyone's had an opportunity to listen to this, enjoy this, get some questions for us. If you do have questions for us, we'd love to hear them at info@grantek.com. There's a lot of kind of different things. If you have questions for Ian or myself or both of us, feel free to send them that way. Ian, any closing thoughts before we close out here?
Yeah, well, thanks, Matt, for having me on. It's been an enjoyable conversation. I'll just say that we're all on this journey together. Let's embrace it together. I think we can get some great things done. And Grantek is really looking to embrace this journey for our customers and also for our employees. Right? I think AI also gives you the ability to, talk about that learning aspect. With the productivity gains, it helps us become better engineers. We can spend more time in research and understanding new technologies and how that applies to the customer landscape as well in our own lives. So I say embrace the journey, enjoy it. I think it's we're in a completely different age. So I look forward to carry on working with people like yourself, Matt, and making this happen.
I'm looking forward to it too, Ian. It's an exciting time. It's always been an exciting industry, but now more than ever, just with how much we get to do even in a year's time is exponential. So it's going to be a fun journey to go down.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks,
Awesome. Thank you, Ian.
Cheers.
If you haven't already, please follow us, Grantek, on LinkedIn. Stay up to date with what we're doing, our new podcast episodes, any of our conversations, other things. Subscribe to the Industry 4.0 podcast with Grantek wherever you get your podcasts. Again, feel free to email Ian and I any of your questions at info@grantek.com. Join us next time at the Industry 4.0 podcast with Grantek. Thanks, everyone.